So, I'm an architect. A lot of people don't know what architects do, but never mind. I'm just going to confuse you further. So I'll basically focus on telling you what I do and why I do it. You draw your own conclusion what an architect's supposed to do. Now, I practiced about 20 odd years, but I find the why I'm doing what I'm doing is still, I draw my inspiration from where I was, my childhood and my past. Now, I'm born in a rural area in Kedah, in northern part of Malaysia, and in the kampung area, right? People said, you can take a man out of kampung, but you can never take a kampung out of a man. So when I come here, this is a 15 minutes drive from here, which is Bukit Wawasan, that I actually spend a lot of Sunday there hiking, and I love the trees. But the tree have a different meaning for me who are quite concerned with sustainability in architecture, because we take a lot from our environment to build something. And out of so many different materials, the only one that we can plant, in fact, is tree. Of course, you don't go out and start chopping tree now. But we can actually know that we actually have to save the forest and have to know which tree to use and which tree not to use. So I was born in something like this. This is a nearby town. My house already make way for development. So this is where I quickly draw a sketch to capture where I was born. Now that actually is a house. It's a very compact unit. You can see from here, this is me. At the age of 11, I have to help my father in the shop. Of course, I would try not to do that, but no choice. Then if sometimes I can go and grab some nap upstairs, and then the door open, there's a window up there that I can look down, picking on the passerby, and then if I don't like the uncle, I might throw something at him or something. And also looking at the customer, relaxing there. But actually it's act as a bus stop as well, that for them to take the bus to another town. So it's a very friendly type of shop, At the back, it takes on a new life altogether. It's a kitchen there, and then my mother will be cooking, and then we eat right next to it. That's the best way to get your food, isn't it? Closest. And then, of course, it also, beyond that, actually, if our neighbor cook laksa and things like that, he will bring a few doors, to their neighbor, to us. Of course, my mother will reciprocate, And then our barber neighbor would have a lot of goat and things like that. They will come around, and then they feed on the leaf that's falling from the tree. And my father is quite an inventive person. He built a chicken condominium that gives us a daily supply of egg and protein. And we also have a family cat, but our cat is not a pet. It's a working cat. It's a cat with a job. He guard our shop against rat and things like that. Not like this day you go to some pet shop to get your beautiful pet. Everybody have to work during those days. But this one, it tells you about something about this. Now, just this one here, I have to talk about something on this one. This house is actually not very safe. They are timber. They are made without architects. And here I am, an architect. And I'm saying so meaningful about these houses. But sometimes houses that evolve based on the human needs are more authentic. Like that's what all they need. And the atap roof that like today we have a lot of flash flood. But one thing about atap roof that you seldom see today, it actually retains the rainwater. And after the rain, it's still dripping with water after half an hour. So it doesn't have flash flood and things like that, right? And of course, the sense of crisis, potential crisis, also bring the community very close together. They'll look after the gas stove and things like that. Now, so as a young boy in a villages, in a kampung area, in a villages area, so my father would always get invitation to attend all those kenduri function. Kenduri is a Western, Malay wedding. And of course, I would be a representative when things are getting a bit too busy, because normally like seasonal, everyone get married at the same time. So I was exposed, and visiting the Malay kampung actually taught me a lot of different things about what we have in Malaysia. Now, the Malay houses I find is very fascinating. Because, like, for example, the picture that you see here, because this is actually Pura Tanjung Sabtu in Terengganu. And you see, normally in Malay houses, they lifted above ground, air cooling that cool the house below, right? And then the changing of a platform from the floor. And in architecture term, we call it a building component called the floor, right? The changing of level suddenly make it into a sitting area, which I thought is very, very interesting. And of course, this particular house taught me a lot about architecture. Now, this particular house also in Terengganu is actually called Kota Lama Duyung. It was restored some time ago. Now, what it taught me was that, you see the brown color that you see here? Like in Terengganu, they have this species of wood called chengao. There are 5 different subspecies there. They are naturally against termite. So, but when they restore this building, the brown color that you see, they actually apply with cinnamon, the cinnamon powder, apply it on the wall, the wood, right? And then the white color plaster that you see are actually not plaster. They're actually cockle shell. And then they burn it, they pound it, and then they mix it with egg white, and then they put it on the wall, right? So it's very interesting, isn't it? So I asked them, what do you do, egg white, and then what do you do with the egg yolk? They say, oh, get a wife to make cake. So I tried to learn more, see? I thought you get some yellow pigment or something. But anyway, that house, why it taught me that, what it taught me is actually, you see, when this one is fully restored and then you walk into the building, you're like walking into a cake shop, cinnamon, egg white, isn't it? And compare with the current modern application. We will have paint, we have chipboard and things like that. They're full of benzoyl, formaldehyde, and a lot of chemical that we end up with what we call the building, sick building syndrome. Then, the making of it is another thing that I find very interesting, the craftsmanship that's behind it. And this is a small detail. For architect, we call it the eave, the roof eave. Now, it is, we call the roof eave here, and then it is a system of rafter. They're coming through, and then you see the little innocent timber that actually they use there. And it's made of a special species of timber called kayu naga, only available in Pulau Redang. Now, when that particular timber would expand over time and hold all the roof eave together securely without a need of a nail, right? Now, what it tells me, I'm not interested more on, not so much on the technicality of it, but it's the fact that the community that understand our culture of building and care enough to actually do it in such a way with the craftsmanship, make it very well made. You know, like for example, you walk in and out of a door, you notice that some old door handle, when you close it, you feel that, oh, this is very well made. And that sort of culture is existed in our Malay culture, for example, that I find is very fascinating. And of course, the building that the structure that become a chair, so I make my column to become a chair. I widen my staircase so that they always can sit down and then start to talk, start to have a more incidental type of, interaction. Now, another thing that fascinates me about the Malay house is the layout of it. Instead of one compact unit, it's a collection of units. And it's linked by breezeway called Selang, and then with a generous area like veranda called Lepau and Serambi. Now, that makes a lot of sense to me because in our hot and humid climate, a lot of the time is that you actually have, how should I say, you have the humidity that get to you. So you need a lot of cross ventilation, right? And then the shade actually shade you away from the sun. Now, I also started all the time with sketches to explore an idea. And this is a house that I do that's facing west. Now, facing west is a big issue for an architect because the sunlight, right? Normally people will create a wall. But what happens, you have a good view that you want to see. So we need to create a sun's, what you call a screen, to screen off the sun and still maintain the view. What I do is pretty much like that. We use the off-cut of the wood and then start with some exploration sketches and paint it and then do some mock-up with it. So what happened is that it is quite effective in a way, like it's actually also taking the cue from what you see just now, something that is, you put a bit of care and thought and then you sort of translate it on site. But of course, in this case, it's weaved with steel. And steel is very convenient here because it breaks the root of the enemy of the wood. You know what's the enemy of the wood? Termite, yeah. Now, so this is take a bit of time to do, but when it is done, on the outside, it's pretty much opaque. People cannot look in. But from the inside, actually, you still can see the view, right? So the next house I'm going to show you is actually I take the cue of, you know, making the different one single story, because it's actually it's higher this side than that side. So on the right hand side, I make it into a single story building. So study pavilion. So it's again a pavilion here that actually linked by a connection, right? Then what happened is that on the outside, you only see the tip of the study. And on the side, the other side, the lower side, is then it revealed to you it's a double-story building. And in this case, I combine, because I have a very good set of workers who are working on the steel. So the steel, when it combined with the timber, we do it in a certain way, like the balustrade is almost disappear. So our contact with nature is very direct. So at night, it becomes an area where they can sit out and then enjoy the view and enjoy the landscape. And of course, although I like sketches and all that, but I also realize the importance of technology. I'm also a lazy architect in a way. So because of all these curvaceous thing, it's quite hard to calculate how far, how big, and how long. So all the menial and complicated tasks, I leave it to the computer, right? So this is when it's done. Of course, I also use some steel to cut off I use timber, like for example, in this case, nyatok. I don't want it to be treated. Because in Malaysia, when you say treated about timber, it's using CCA, copper, chrome, arsenic. And arsenic is not a very friendly chemical, that's for sure. Olden day, they used to poison their husband and wife. So this is when it's completed. You can see the steel is still under construction. Actually, you can still see through the center court. Yeah, of course, it's under construction. But my poor wife have to walk up and down to see whether it's nice or not, And on the outside, the generous roof, right, when it's done. And on the inside, when it's just completed. And this is when it's occupied. And again, this part, I actually take the cue from the traditional Malay architecture as well. Timber is used as a timber. It's not veneer. It's real timber. The original, the character of the wood, although with its variation and things like that, it becomes the part of the identity of the building. Now, this is when it's completed, the nature starts to take over, and in fact, the architecture become a background rather than dominant this thing. So I try to bring the kampong to my client as well, right? So the other house this is a compact house. When you have a compact house, how do you relate to nature? It's relatively small, so I find that I don't like gated and guarded property. They're not very friendly. They show off their cars and things like that. So I also don't want to look at them. I turn my back on street and things like that. So on the outside, it's quite forbidding, but you also don't allow people to come in, and also we don't want to overlook the neighbor. So the idea of this house is it started with a series of forecourt. It's a journey that going inside. And this picture will tell you how do you go in. So when you enter, just now you see the concrete wall. You walk from the right-hand side, come into a front court that you saw the picture just now. And then you'll go into an internal street. And from there, the space is taken to the right, to the kitchen, and then left, and then forward. And you're aware of the green that you planted outside. So it is a diagonal sort of geometry. Basically, is to give you an illusion the space is bigger than it is. So this is the internal street in the daytime. So you enjoy the sky, and then at the night time, you also enjoy the night sky with the stars. But the high volume of it is also allow the natural convection within the air, the moving inside, right? So again, this is the chairs, and this is the column that's inside the space that it look occupied even when it's empty. And the nature, the mood of the day is always informed of the mood of the day and the rhythm of the day. And that to me is very important, that you don't no longer understand building as inside and outside, but always you are connected with nature. In this case, outside and the sky. So a lot of light and shade. So the other project that I do when it's completed, this is on a hilly slope. So when I have rock, I use back the rock on the side. And this is when it's done, again, it's invaded by trees. So this is like, somewhere come out like a dinosaur looking at all the regimented, army that going against it. Now, this is actually aging, the timber aging gracefully, right? Then this is my house where it all started. Now come this Mid-Autumn Festival, our Mooncake Festival, I will be there for about 14 days. So with my house, of course, I experiment a lot more. I said a lot of the part actually don't have a window, so the air will move freely through, right? Then I used chengal in a chengal, and then what you call the brick, and this is the picture taken by the student when the group of students come to visit my house. Again, the structure or the architecture become the furniture. And this at night, view from the park. Now, finally, I will show you what I find. That, with this concept, is that you can be extended. We can extend it beyond just residential. So this is a competition project that we did right next to Sungai Langat in nearby Kajang, there, UKM. What we have here is basically we are also investigate the use of technology like fuel cell. I mean, it's hydrogen. You try to harvest hydrogen. The raw material is water, so nothing more convenient than we have a river at the back. The problem in Malaysia is that we don't respect our river. We keep throwing things inside, isn't it? And then there are already burung undan, or they call stoke, that come in from Siberia or wherever, and they're coming such a far away guests that come to Malaysia, and then they swim among the plastic. It's not very good host, isn't it? Now, so I'm looking at this, and then also the land itself is quite large. It's about 4 or 5 acres, and then you already have the dairy cow, Tenusu, already grazing there, about 100 odd. So I have the idea that when there's a mini ecological system there, I want to maintain like that. So I lifted it above the ground, the whole building, and then punctured it at the center because it's of the broad expanse of the building, so that I get natural light throughout. So at the back is the water supposed to pump up through ram pump. Ram pump is the technology which is about 14 something, you know, but it's actually electric. You don't have to use electricity. And when it is done, basically you see the green color, we harvested the hydrogen, and then the oxygen, the byproduct, we start a oxygen bar, you know, and then by the fact that it's lifted above the ground, it allowed the air to move right through with the lures that's provided. And again, the skin, the timber being light mass material, so during daytime, when it's heat up, it doesn't retain the heat. At night, it releases very fast. So I'm suggesting something like that. So the inside is like inside the stomach of the whale or something. Yeah? So, and then this is a view from Sungai Langat. So hopefully, it will become a more nicer playing ground for the stoke, right? And the student can just park underneath, and then the cows still can come and graze on the ground below. So this is actually, I find, it's a crucial thing that we are looking at it now, because in Malaysia we have 2,650 species of timber, and the only renewable resource. We have to look after it carefully, and a lot of magical things like this can happen. So with that, I thank you very much.